everybody to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today we have on our show Dwayna Welch, and she's the author of Love Factually, 10 Proven Steps from I Wish to I Do. And she is amazing, and I'm so excited to have her here today because today we're talking about why you can't make him love you. And I know, ladies, you're dying to know why you can't do that. But before we jump into it, Dwayna, tell our audience a little bit about you and what made you write this book, Love Factually.
Sure, Suzanne. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm excited to be on your show. So I am a nerd, just a nerd to the core. You know, everybody else got LASIK. I still have glasses. That's just a clue. And yet, all my nerdiness and all my book learning did not prevent heartache. I got a PhD in psychology, and I still got my heart trounced. We don't have enough time to go into all the ways I got my heart trounced, but trust me, it was almost every way that it can happen. And so I thought one day, maybe some other nerd already studied all this. And I was right, except that it was a lot of other nerds that had already studied all of this. And so I started applying the science to my own life. And then I started applying it to clients' lives, and we all wound up very happily paired. I'm very happily married because of how I use the science. And Love Factually is my attempt to make sure that everyone gets that information for a very low cost in a very user-friendly, non-technical jargon kind of way.
Awesome. Okay, so let's jump into this topic because I know the ladies are dying to know. Why can't you make him love you?
This question actually makes me really sad because usually by the time somebody asks it, they are well into a relationship that's one-sided.
That's a really good point. That is very true.
Almost no one ever asks at the beginning or as a hypothetical on this one. I get a lot of questions that are hypothetical, but never this one. By the time I get this one, this woman has spent often years in a relationship that is one-sided, but the last person who wrote me this actually said something like, how can I make him see that we're perfect for each other? This was several years in, and he wasn't answering her texts or her emails, and he was telling her that he didn't love her, and she just wanted me to tell her how to tell him, hey, you know what? You're wrong. We're right for each other. Folks, love is reciprocal. It's not one-sided. If you're in a one-sided love, it's time to leave that relationship. I don't care who you are. But why women think this? You know, it's not, a lot of people want to say it's because of low intelligence, and I've got to tell you that is not it. One of the best examples I know of, kind of iconic examples of unrequited love, is Charlotte Bronte. You all know who she is. She wrote Jane Eyre. And the hero in Jane Eyre, who, he's so hot that the pages combust, right? The hero in Jane Eyre was based on the man that she truly loved with all her heart, and he didn't love her back. She wound up getting married to a man who courted her for 10 years before she said yes. He loved her, and she wasn't so sure, but he won her over. Here's the thing. A man can win a woman over, and a woman cannot win a man. And it's biological, and it's true, and it's sad, and I don't want this to happen to you. So what I'd like to do is explain to you why it is that a man can win a woman, and a woman can't win a man.
Sure. Explain to us.
Okay, so we know from research all over the planet that what men usually look for can be summarized in 2 F's. They look for fertile and faithful. Now, one of the ways they tell faithful is she's hard to get. She runs away when I chase her, because if she's really easy to get, that means she's easy for everybody to get, and I might wind up raising some other guy's babies, and I don't want that. So men actually value women who kind of have their track shoes on and are a little bit challenging. Women value something else. And again, this is from data not just done in developed countries and industrialized nations and large countries. This is data everywhere. Tribal societies, right on up to us, is very consistent. And anytime we in science find something that consistent, we're going to have to say this is the way it is. I mean, if you decide, well, I just don't want to believe Dwayna, that's fine, that's your right. But you're going against your own best interest, I have to tell you, because the science is just very clearly on the side of this, that women look for 2 P's, provision and protection. Now, you can see what a guy can give on a balance sheet. He could show you his bank statement. You can see how much money he has. But here's what you can't see on that balance sheet. You are not going to be able to see how much he loves you and therefore whether he will stick around and actually provide it. In order to see that, you have to see commitment. And so that's why men can win a woman, because when a man hangs in there and sticks his neck out and lets you reject him 50 times, well, you know what? He really wants to provide. He really wants to be there for you. And that is a very hefty piece of evidence in his favor. When a woman runs toward a man, what she says is, I'm easy, I'm low status, no one else wants me, why don't you have a go? It's not attractive. This is why a woman cannot meet it. I'm sorry, but you just can't get a man to love you by throwing yourself at him. Now, there are things you can do to win a man over, but not that one. Once women ask me this question, how can I make him love me? They have been throwing themselves at this guy for months or even years because that would have worked for them. I made up a term to kind of synopsize this. It's called mating centrism. It's thinking that the opposite sex has the same mating psychology we do. They don't. It would work for you. It won't work for him.
This is really, really interesting. So let me ask you a question, because I know my audience is wondering this question too, because you're talking about women throwing themselves at him or, going after him. But let's talk about sex, because I know you get this question all the time well, does that mean that a woman should definitely not sleep with him in the early stages of dating? And when should she sleep with him? Because if that's what you're saying, then she shouldn't give it away so freely, right?
Yeah, so the word on the street, in other words, I don't know the science on this.
Mm-hmm.
The word on the street is that most women right now in big cities are having sex by about the third date.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I think we all know that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, men's psychology doesn't come from right now. It comes from a very ancient past, just like ours does. We don't have all the time to go into that, but it's true. And so men are using your sexual ease as a litmus test for whether you will be easy for other men. So I'm going to tell you very quickly exactly when to have sex with him. You don't have sex with him until the following things happen. Number one, he says he loves you. But that's not enough, because unfortunately, there are snakes in the garden of love who will say they love you just to get in your knickers, so that's not enough. So he says he loves you, and then the other thing he does is he proves it. I don't know how he proves it. Maybe he, spends more money than is comfortable for him to spend. Maybe he introduces you to his parents. Maybe he starts talking a lot about the future. You're going to have to listen to your gut on that one. But he doesn't just say it, he shows it. And the third thing is, he asks you not to see anyone else. He says something like, my husband said this to me. He said, Dwayna, I know you're still dating around, but I love you and I really wish you wouldn't date around anymore. Can't we be exclusive? That's what you want to hear at that point where his heart is yours. Yes, I can't tell you whether that's at the end of 2 weeks or at the end of 6 months, but until then, unless you just want to have sex that in all probability will just be sex, then don't do it.
And tell me, because this is what I've heard from men themselves, and I want to hear if you've heard anything from a scientific point of view, is that if a man has sex in the early stages of dating and he's not emotionally connected to you, that he can it doesn't mean anything to him. A man needs that emotional connection in order for him to stick around and want to be there with you.
This is protection against him raising another guy's babies. What happens is men have a lot of just purely biological mechanisms to protect them from failing to cast their own genes forward. And one of those is emotional disconnect from she who gave it away. And so in studies, for example, fully 3 out of 4 men find it very easy to stay emotionally aloof in a friends with benefits situation. And 1 in 4 say, well, I'm getting kind of attached to her. When you look at women's take, it's the exact opposite. 3 in 4 women say, he's not right for me, but I'm falling in love with him, even though he's not right for me. And only 1 in 4 women say, I'm fine with this. It's really not that big a deal. So what we see is men are just wired up differently. If you want to know the specific biochemical that's responsible, it's dopamine. Basically, guys just don't fall in love without it. And until they're in love, you do not want to mess with it, because what happens when you have sex and their dopamine levels were starting to rise is the dopamine just drops like a stone.
So interesting. It's so interesting, because all too often I've heard women think that they could keep a man by having sex with them, and you can't. You can't. And yes, there's always exceptions to the rule. And yes, I've heard where someone had sex with a man on a first date and they got married, but those are far and few between. I mean, you don't hear that all too often. You don't hear like, at least 5 of my girlfriends that happened to. It's maybe one that you've known in the last 20 years.
Exactly. Unfortunately, we have cave people brains, and our cave people brains tend to glom on to what's very unique and interesting instead of what is statistically normative. Statistically normative is, wait, that's what's going to succeed relationally.
Well, and I think I love that you bring up that point, because what made me realize is that we also tend to gravitate toward what we want to believe. So it's like, oh, well, that's in line with what I want to believe, so I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah, and I went with that one. I'm not a saint. It's not like I did all these wonderful, frankly, self-denying. I mean, women like sex too. To wait is to deny something that you want to.
Right.
Right? So, it takes a lot of self-control. I'm not claiming that I always was in the past, but I will tell you that once I started doing these things went really well. I had many, many marriage proposals. I'm married to the person that I loved in return, but men fall like stones when you make them wait.
And the other thing that I will add too is that once you have sex with them, you can't take it back, because I've seen that happen a lot too. A woman will say, "Oh, I had sex with him too soon. Now I don't want to do it." You can't do that. It just turns into a huge mess. He feels rejected, and then you have to fix that situation. So just be sure before you do it, right?
It's really touchy. I actually do have a section in my book about unringing the bell, how to undo the sexual relationship if you realize, oh my God, it was too soon, it didn't feel right. But I got to tell you, that's a tricky conversation, and most people don't want to have it. The easier thing really is just be careful to begin with.
Yeah, and I will tell you that, like you said, it's a tricky situation, and yes, you can rectify it, but it's very difficult, because he's going to feel rejected. He's not going to know what he did wrong, and it's just be smart. Okay, so Dwayna, tell our audience how they can find you and how they can find your book.
So you can find me and my book at www.lovefactually.co. That's .co, not .com, because if you go to .com, I can't vouch for what will happen to you or your computer. Go to lovefactually.co and make sure that amidst all the various accolades for the book and stuff, that you get that free chapter for yourself. You'll get some free information, and you can see if you want the book.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you'd like to view the videos, you can go to singleandstilettos.com. And if you'd like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. If you would like to get our book on the secrets on where to meet men and the 65 best places to meet them, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.